Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we have from High Vis Guided Tour. So look, I've been disillusioned with the UK post-punk scene for some time now, with so much colorless regurgitation of overwritten throwbacks without the hooks or flair to really back it up. So when I heard High Vis on Bandcamp, I was kinda caught off guard. Initially rooted more in gnarly hardcore and post-hardcore, adding some intensity, especially in frontman Graham Sale's vocals. They also balanced that with this glittery britpop madchester flair and swell to their melodic balance with those coursing bass lines. But they were definitely a band that was picking up more polish coming out of those roots, where I remember making an 80s U2 comparison in some of those fluttery guitar lines. So now for their third album, well yeah, I'd argue they stuck the landing, because while I can trace the sonic lineage of this project as clearly as any of the other UK post-punk acts, there's something very different about High Vis that feels not only bigger, but considerably more visceral for me. Now, some of it might just be age. The band members of High Vis are more millennial than Gen Z in terms of that scene, and when you combine it with their ragged hardcore roots, there's this unabashed earnestness that dodges the austere irony that I find so goddamn tiresome, absolutely helped by Graham Sale's thick accent and hollering delivery. Yeah, there's sarcasm and a real edge here, but absolutely no disaffection, and that's a huge plus for me. And yeah, of course, some of it is absolutely politics and lyrical framing, which is where the through line to leftist 80s punk is intentionally prominent, from the album art to the brutal reality that the historical trajectory of Thatcher's Britain and a decade plus of austerity, it's damn near a straight line, and it's left the UK in a miserable, decaying state. And when you realize that this is the first album where the entire band left their full-time work to pursue music full-time, the precarious nature of taking that risk feels palpable. But this is also an album that can't afford to wallow, and they have to come together to try and eke out their survival, and they don't hold back. The title track highlighting how the band can take you down some of their paths where you can exhale, but that can be just a visit while some have to live that life, echoed in the music as the song opts for more of a fade out. But on Feeling Blessed, they're hoping that it is enough to invigorate you in that moment. And then there's the reality that the shared experience can be painful but very cathartic. It's no surprise that Trauma Bonds from their last album is a fan favorite, and Fill the Gap recognizes the circular relationship between trauma and knowledge thereof, where processing its experience by thinking through it might help you actually get out the other side. It feels like a sequel. One thing I also really appreciate about High Vis is that they seem acutely aware of the mental strain of living in such dire times, a level of introspection that just goes beyond those 80s touchpoints, and not just for themselves, but on cuts like Deserve It and Untethered, the difficulty of trying to help pull others out of the doomerism spiral, especially as the album ends on their most post-punk, borderline The Cure-esque track, and one of their darkest with Gone Forever, with the grim reality that so much community, so much work is going to be villainized and twisted by the corrupt establishment. And when you're gone, you're not going to be missed. So maybe it's time for some actual fucking action. It might be warranted, because that political hardcore spirit is absolutely here too. Drop Me Out feels very political, and how those on the left can be mistreated by their own side, where liberals will curry favor with the right rather than see any sort of systemic failings seriously getting addressed. But Mob DLA is the most direct and furious, rooted in the personal story of Sale's older brother who struggles with being on the spectrum and cerebral palsy, and the criminal failings of the NHS to provide the care that they need to and should, alongside the British public that would prefer to see those people out of sight and out of mind. To quote the song, "Nothing ever comes to those who wait." It's a shot of pure rage that definitely feels warranted. Yeah, that one resonated. Now, those two tracks are the most hardcore on the album, and they add some welcome balance and diversity to the band's most expansive, melodically rich, and dare I say experimental album to date, all the while keeping that rock-solid guitar work and huge hooks at the forefront, shooting for grandeur but with no real pretentiousness about it. Very 80s U2 in that. lot. I love how the title track has that killer bass thrum backing up the guitar shimmer, echoed on the smokier pickups of Deserve It, or how the overpowered tones on Worth the Wait sound like they're imported from mid-90s Britpop, think Oasis, or how Fill the Gap, it just bends across comfort and then these jagged minor key smolder in order to accentuate the push and pull of the track. Now I do think the back half of the album, after the interlude Farringdon and the rager Mob DLA, can slip towards a somber mid-tempo where the explosiveness doesn't quite pay off as strongly, and Mind's a Lie is an outright Madchester dance track, complete with the sample, the tighter percussion groove, and the guitar embellishments around it in order to accentuate that vibe. It's a cool experiment and proves that High Vis can venture outside of their comfort zone, and that's really promising for the future, and it's a fun reminder of where U2 went in the 90s, although sonically it absolutely feels the most out of place, and it does run a little long. But as a whole, this is the best sort of Bandcamp find. A band that can span both past and present with a clear sonic continuity that feels intensely relevant, ready for the biggest stages you can muster because the anthemic songs stack up, but also not to be pigeonholed in that lane because both lyrics and compositionally, they are prepared to go further and experiment. In other words, an absolutely excellent album, certainly worth contending for any year-end list, especially in rock. Yeah. Check this out, great stuff. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. Yeah, this was such a great find. I'm thrilled that I can actually get around with covering one of these Bandcamp acts in a little bit more actual breathing room. And just a reminder that Bandwidth is going to be going live on my channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll go through streaming on, maybe get through a bunch more songs that would come up on Bandwidth. Hope you all swing by. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And hey, if you want to get projects on my schedule in the new year, or support the channel, YouTube memberships, Patreon, or hell, just yell at me on my Discord, the options are available. Tough times, I understand, especially around the holidays. I'm just putting it out there. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.